Welcome to Now, Near, and the Future with Naila Mir and Quinn Harrington. A podcast that's part crystal ball, part microscope, and part rocket ship.
Welcome to Now, Near, and the Future. I'm Quinn Harrington.
And I'm Naila Mir. Today's guest graduated, and you're going to tell me if I say this wrong, graduated Summa cum laude?
Yeah.
Summa cum laude.
5 months.
Yeah.
Summa cum laude 5 months ago with a gold award, 2 student silver ADDYs, and a thesis project that solved a problem nobody asked her to solve.
And right now, she's working at a stationery shop while the industry decides what to do with her. We're going to spend the next hour in this gap.
Madeleine Glassford, welcome.
Thank
Excited
you.
to have you here on our podcast. We'll do a proper introduction in a few minutes, but first, one honest question. If someone you just met tonight asked what you do you actually say right now?
I'm a multidisciplinary designer. I have a background in illustration, photography, graphic design, and I'm a Swiss Army knife in any sort of room you need me to be in.
Okay. And what are you the most passionate about?
Out of those, I would definitely say graphic design is my passion. That is what I got my degree in, and I'm excited to enter the industry.
Lovely.
Wonderful.
Quinn.
Well, let's go around the room.
Around the room.
Before we go deeper, let's go around the room. What's on everyone's mind that has nothing to do with a job title? I'll kick off. So, Naila's going to be a little bit mad, but it's America's 250th anniversary is coming up, so I've been boning up on my American history and the American Revolution when we kicked the Brits' butts and sent them home packing. So, welcome, Naila.
Good to know you, Quinn. What have I been up to? You know what's been keeping us up in England? Well, pretty much everywhere is World Cup, which is happening in America and Canada and Mexico. US wasn't doing too bad, I think, recently. So that's what's keeping me busy outside
Yeah,
of work.
we won 2 games, lost 1, and the next one is the biggie. And there's a small percentage of a chance that America might play against Great Britain in Philadelphia on July 4th, which is our Independence Day. So how crazy would that be?
Oh my God, we're going to be on opposite sides. This is going to be
Yeah,
fun.
you'll actually have a chance of winning this time. So unlike the American Revolution, we're getting better as a soccer country, but we're not there yet.
We'll see. We'll be on WhatsApp together.
Yes.
What about you, Madeleine?
Before July 4th, I have my grandpa's 87th birthday is this weekend. So we have a bunch of family flying in, and we'll have a big celebration for him.
How nice.
That's wonderful.
Did you do all the design stuff for the birthday, like invites and all?
My family's a lot more casual, so it was more of a text. Everyone's invited.
Awesome.
All right.
And how old does Grandpa turn?
87.
87.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. We all
Big
get
milestones.
excited when they make it another year, and you're always like, I hope this is not the last year with him. So happy birthday, Grandpa.
Yeah,
in
I'm
the
very
future.
lucky. My grandparents live like 10 minutes away, so I get to see them pretty regularly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Wonderful.
And you make an effort. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
We exchange puzzles. We'll go shopping. My grandma loves IKEA, so we'll pop around there.
Oh. That's fun.
Yeah, IKEA is it's like my favorite place and my least favorite place because you can't just pop in for a quick trip,
No.
You gotta go and get lost and wander around and wonder how you ended up in bedding again. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
place.
It's staged like that.
It
Madeleine would
is.
know about staging, right?
Yes,
So yeah.
absolutely. Definitely sounds like a Nielsen thing. Okay, well, let's move along here. Perfect time to properly introduce our guest. Madeleine Glassford graduated from Flagler College in December 2025, summa cum laude. Well done.
Thank
With a
you.
BFA in graphic design, a track that requires a year-long, actually 6-month independent thesis and a public defense on top of the standard coursework. She left with a gold award from her senior portfolio show. Again, well done, no easy task. Student silver ADDYs, and a body of work that spans branding, illustration, photography, packaging, and a 7-minute silent film, plus a decade of theater and stage management before she ever opened a design program.
Right. And you also served as on AAF Jacksonville board as a social media chair. What is AAF?
That's the American Advertising Federation. So it's a nationwide organization, and they are known for putting on the ADDYs, which is a really big gala celebrating advertising achievements.
Excellent. And you also interned at Future Friends. We may talk about that. A working branding studio in St. Augustine, and led an Omeka database build for a digital humanities grant project that put you in the rooms with museum curators. So much experience going on here. Her branding for the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, designed in a college classroom, is still in use today. That is
Very cool.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, where can we find you on the internets and social?
My website is madelineglassford.com. I'm Madeleine Glassford on LinkedIn. I'm Madeline.Glassford on Instagram. It's my name everywhere.
Wow, that's
Love
great.
it.
Well, you have a unique name, so
Thank you. Yeah.
mine was a little bit harder to secure. So well done there.
Now,
The resume that should have worked. I want to start with the thing that doesn't add up on paper. You did everything during design school, asks of a serious student, the BFA track, thesis, ADDYs, the board seat, the internship, and 5 months later, is that correct? Since you graduated?
Yep, I graduated in December.
Okay. You're working retail while waiting for a full-time seat to open, finding your first major role. I sat in on your thesis review, and I was really impressed by your level of thinking and ability to kind of put together a concept and a business plan for a tool that we didn't even know we needed. So I know what that record actually represents. So I want to ask you directly, what do you think, what did you think was going to happen when you graduated, and what has actually happened since then?
I did have a guess it would take about this long to have a job and
Mm-hmm.
find a full-time position, just because the industry, there are so many graduates in graphic design. Like I recently applied to a design apprenticeship that was made for recently graduated students. And I saw that the person who held the position before was a product designer at Apple. I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, this is not a recent graduate holding this position. And I do keep finding situations where it's a position will require like 3 to 5 years of experience, but then the person who held it before me had 7 years of experience, and they had held higher positions, and they downgraded their level to have that position. So I do think so far that is something that I didn't suspect, people having such hard time kind of going from one level and going up. I didn't really see how it would be, just not linear at all.
Yeah, it does typically take about 6 months to secure that first entry level role. And a lot of positions do ask for at least a few years of experience. So there's that gap there where it's like, how do I get to 3 to 5 years of experience unless it's at a place where, I would rather not be working. My role situation was a little bit unique. So, kind of like you, well, really only in my last semester did I finally make Dean's List. I won the AIGA portfolio poster concept. We weren't really grading Flagler College portfolios back then, so we didn't really have like a competition per se. But essentially, I was recruited right out of school for a small design firm, and then got recruited to uh, St. John and Partners within about like 4 to 6 months afterwards. So that's a pretty unique situation. And frankly, your credentials and your talent is far exceeded mine at the time. Like I was just kind of like, I don't know, I felt like I was like an average designer. There are definitely people who had better books than mine. Um, but I advise you to hang in there. Something
Yeah.
will come along and you might have to be willing to move.
I'm okay with that. I've been applying all of America. I will move to
Hmm.
a different state.
And are
Yeah.
you looking for a particular, like, you're in the industry, right? But are you looking at particular types of companies to work with? So one is you can go for a design studio, right? But there are other avenues. What are you really looking at in terms of job searching?
I think the most important thing for me is mentorship. I know that education and learning doesn't stop once you've graduated. So I'm looking for a company that has some sort of team or an agency that has people working above me that I can really absorb and learn from and sponge up all that information that I can and help
Mm.
guide me to be an even better designer and a better asset to the business.
Mm. Yeah, because you know what I was thinking, like Quinn, because have never worked on the agency side. Yes, I've got my own company and I partner with different organizations to do internal comms, and then we partner with design agencies. But some of these companies have in-house design functions. And that's another opportunity or avenue that you look at, right? Because they have these inbuilt studios in the company. So yeah, there's opportunities, and networking is key, as we know. Yeah.
So your portfolio, like we said, moves across branding and multiple disciplines. Um, was that a deliberate choice or just what happened when you followed your heart, what interested you?
I do think it was a deliberate choice because I wanted to follow my heart. For example, I have a project that I won the two ADDYs for, and it's branding for an all gluten-free restaurant. And I was fortunate enough to be able to use my own photography in some of those images. And those were the images that won the award. So it was really amazing for
Wow.
me when I was able to submit and that won, that every single element of that was something that I created. And I love to look at those design crossroads because using all the talents in one project just helps it seem more cohesive. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Makes total sense. Um, so your thesis might be the clearest proof of how you think. You found a gap in a tool you use every day and designed a solution no one asked for. What does that say about the kind of designer you actually are versus the kind of job postings describe?
I really do enjoy liking to solve problems. Design is a way of communication, and communication is a way to solve problems. When I'm applying for junior designer positions, that's not necessarily something they're always looking for. But for me, the answer is looking at the question why when designing, um, and finding just problems, like you said, that people maybe don't know that they have. And that's another way to just keep adding to a position.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I got recruited by the the little agency, like I dove right into to doing work um, on regular significant projects. But when I went to the big agency, they put me on account that involved a lot of like, you know, cutting, presentation boards and mounting stuff up and, basically kind of like grunt work. And, that included doing like black and white ads for, AccuView contact lenses. And, it was really, it's not very sexy or glamorous for that first 6 months or a year. Um, but yeah, I just encourage you to keep an open mind. There's, like Nyla was saying, there's so many different areas of design, everything from like, working at a magazine to working in house, working at a printer, working for, a web development company, and you have like a broad range of skills. So
Yeah.
I feel like you would be valuable. And if, we didn't have a producer Rachel on the call right now, I would say, send me your resume. Just kidding, Rachel. Just kidding.
No, but on
I'll
a
still
separate note,
send
please
it.
do, because I might want to look at it, and we're going to come to these points as well. Because did I read you also, to solve problems, you need to have UX design experience, right? The user experience stuff, and that's highly useful even in a comms industry. So yeah, please send your CV.
I will. I will not miss an opportunity. You both will be receiving it today.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I want to answer my own question here too, because I'm on the other side of this. When I see a portfolio with this much range, here's what I actually think. You would be particularly suited towards a smaller agency or an in-house department because you have such a wide range of skills. Like I said, when you end up at a bigger agency, you tend to get put on a single account doing similar tasks over and over again. So maybe you're doing ads or you're doing website maintenance or, working on uh, workflow automation. So there's not a lot of breadth of experience and not a lot of need. It's like, okay, so it's great that you're a photographer, but we typically hire photographers. It's great that you're an illustrator, but how often do we need illustration and do we need your particular style for every project? So I would probably recommend that you would look in that arena. Like, for example, when your classmate, Rachel, came to me, what was most appealing to me is that she was pretty decent at video, like a lot better than I expected. Like I thought I was gonna have to teach her a bunch of stuff, and she kept telling me, she's like, "Yeah, I know how to do that." "Yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that." And I was like, "Well, fine, I'm not gonna teach you anything else then." But also she was a good designer, but an even better strategist. And so that sort of three-pronged, um skill set is extremely valuable for a smaller company like mine or Nyla's. We're both, although we do different things, we're both very structured similarly. We've got a handful, like a small little dream team. And
Yeah.
so when you find someone like you come along, Madeline, that can wear a lot of hats, it's extremely valuable to us.
Yeah,
Thank you. You're making me
exactly.
blush.
So broadening the horizons in this day and world, and we might talk about this in the next segments, is international. So seeing opportunities that can happen while you're sitting in America but working for a global organization, or everything's remote and agile now. Yeah. Across
Oh,
the pond moment. Yeah.
absolutely. We just produced um, a, a, a series of videos for Nielsen IQ when they were getting ready for their IPO. That's their initial public offering. And we interviewed people in the UK. We interviewed people in like Estonia, South America, and a couple other countries, California. So yeah, and they all work for the same company, um, working on, and it's not like they were native to a particular, region. They were just on a team, on a multinational team. So, you know, don't limit yourself to just the good old USA. Shall we move to the near segment, Naila?
Yeah, we can do that.
Near.
It's about the hiring problem, and it's not just a Madeleine problem, right? So if we take a step back, we think there's a hiring problem. So where from I'm trying to make this a bit easier to talk about. So from where you sit, Madeleine, and keeping in mind culture and people and the hiring process, so what does a hiring process actually select for when it screens a portfolio like yours? So we talked about this a bit, right? So from your opinion, when you're talking about hiring, what are those things you're seeing that they're looking at and they're not looking at when it comes to your CV or your skills or your expertise?
Mm-hmm. I can see that one thing I'm doing a lot of is actually videoing myself. They're asking
Mm-hmm.
for me to
Ah.
complete various 1 minute, 2 minute videos, and it varies. Sometimes they want a really cinematic, highly edited masterpiece, and other times they want one shot, no edits, very simple. And then the other thing is trying to make sure that the company actually sees your resume and it doesn't get filtered out by AI before they even get the chance to see your work. I had a friend who was using this beautifully designed resume, and she had so much experience, and she wasn't really getting far in the interview process. Then she recently switched to actually the Harvard template for resume, which is very simple, black and white, kind of blocky text. And that week she got a bunch of responses. So also making sure that your resume is AI compatible, as each company even uses different programs and has different levels of accuracy, just trying to make it so an actual human sees your work and your work gets far enough.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's totally true. So my friend Chris Olberding, he owned a pretty big design agency, and so when he was applying for jobs, he would send over his resume, and I'm like, God, this thing is hideous. He's like, I know, but designed resumes don't work. Like, you got to use this template, this particular font, or you'll never even get a call back because the AI will reject it. Like, don't put your picture on there. Don't do a logo. Don't do any of that stuff. Just send over a boring ass black and white resume, and that's what will hopefully get you a call back.
That is so weird. When
I
I was
know.
doing CVs, there was no AI. It was a human looking at it. So we didn't have to worry about those things, but we did worry about how do we break through. And I always go back to my thing about, in my life, I have never really interviewed. It's always been through networks. And people have seen me or talked to me or, then seen my work through people. So I luckily haven't really been through an interview, but the ones that I haven't gotten far. In your experience, when you do an interview, what are those questions or moments where you feel I'm being myself, but I think they're putting me in a box? Have you felt that in your experience of interviews?
Mm-hmm. For example, my background intentionally is just a white wall. But I love pink. And at first, my background was the rest of the room, which is very highly decorated. And I do think that was putting me in a box. It only happened once, and I realized, oh no, I need to switch the camera around. So that's one thing. Another thing is just finding ways to share. I am kind of out of the box that they're initially putting me in, like bringing up my research experience, like that very large-scale research project I led, or explaining how, yes, I can do things with my hands, working with painting, cutting, all of that, but digital as well. And just showing all those previous things that we've talked about, how I don't just fit into one box. I can adapt. I can be a chameleon.
That makes
That is
sense.
good. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I hate being put in a box. I want to work for people who I love working with, projects I love working on, and where I can be myself, pretty much. Right? Obviously, there are organizational standards and other things that you adhere to later, but the first point is you should love who I am and I should love who's interviewing me. It's a two-way street. Yeah. So if you don't like someone who's interviewing, you might want to question that too. Is this the place I really want to work for? Right?
Yeah, actually, I consider it the same because even though Nyla and I aren't, doing job interviews, we do interviews constantly. Um, trying to. There's our girl. She's getting ready for her close up.
Yeah, she is.
So even though we we're not looking for a role within a company, we are looking for roles with or roles with a particular client. So we're interviewing them, and they are interviewing us. And from where we sit with 25, 30 years of experience, it's kind of like a dance. Like, we don't want to come across as desperate or needy. It's kind of like dating. If someone's blowing up your phone constantly, it's just like, wow, someone's thirsty. It
Yeah.
doesn't really
Yeah.
come across as a good vibe. Um, with when you're courting, a position, I think that going in with a set of questions that you have as well makes you feel like, or it makes you seem like you're not just so desperate that you'll take anything, right? Like, it's like you want to know about the company's culture, um, what's my potential career path here, um, what's what what are the expectations in terms of um, commitment? Is this, are you guys strictly 9 to 5, or are we going to be working weekends and holidays? Like, tell me more. I want to know, you know, as much about you as you want to know about me.
Yeah. When you do look for organization, you talked about, I want to work for an organization or a company where there's someone who's going to mentor me, guide me. But what else is important to you when you're looking for a role? You know, like, is
Mhm.
it flexibility? What else do you look for?
I do look for flexibility. I do tend to prefer in person just because I love the human
Okay.
connection. But I'm still applying to remote positions. I do normally ask about company culture. I, in class, learned that there were some agencies that would do full dinners or just really fun kind of travel. So now I tend to ask about that as well. Um, and then I also ask if there's any kind of extra skills or other concepts that weren't necessarily listed on that job description that would help the candidate be successful, and what they're more specifically looking for while they're selecting a position, the person
Mm,
to fill the position.
mm. Uh, yeah. And that means you've done a bit of work and groundwork when you're
Mhm.
when you're interviewing. I know my sister once did some interview and she was doing a interview for someone famous in the cycling sports thing. She had no clue who he was. She got the job in like 30 minutes or something. But then later on, he goes, "Do you know who I am?" She's like, "Not really." And then she Googled it and she goes, "Oh my God, he's actually really famous." And he appreciated the fact that she didn't know. So she came in without that biasness, oh, it's someone famous and trying to impress. She was who she was, pretty much. So here comes the question. We're in the near segment, aren't we, Quinn? So 3 to 5 years
Correct.
from now, Madeline, right? 3 to 5 years from now, as entry-level work and design work gets automated, and we know all about the AI conversation, um, what do you think? What is worrying you about jobs, especially for entry-level people, or when automation comes in? What worries you about the job market for you?
I think I'm actually seeing an increasing amount of 2 or 3 freelancers pairing up to make a separate agency that they can funnel work through. And they're taking a lot of kind of like the clients out there, and they're not necessarily looking to hire others. It's more of like a 2 or 3 man specific freelance studio situation. And I think having a team and having a full agency in a studio can be extremely helpful. And there's so many people to bounce around ideas with. I don't want to see the full death of a studio ever, just because they're so integral and they just really help set the tone overall and push boundaries for where creativity can go. I also see how there are less and less opening junior positions available as, like you mentioned, AI does take some of that grunt work away. I think it would be amazing if we could keep some of those positions open for designers who are willing to do the grunt work and learn just to progress in their career.
That
makes
makes sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And especially with you, Quinn, being in this design space, right? These are the things that we constantly think about. What's going to be taken over, but we come to that same point. You still need a human behind everything, right?
yeah, it's just that
Who's
the
ethical.
things that entry-level humans are doing now is different than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I'll take my Rachel for example. Initially, it was just kind of learning about our process and our people, and so we had like, I don't know, sort of like a couple weeks of training. Um, but then instead of like working on basic stuff, it ended up being like more like, here's like a here's a project you can take on, and here's how we use a combination of AI and our own creativity to work through a problem, because uh, pretty much everything we do starts with some kind of like go to market strategy. And so that's really where Rachel kind of kicked off, where I was like, all right, so, you're a writer and you have learned some things in school. Take a stab at creating a go to market strategy. And so immediately she started, working in ChatGPT and Claude to generate these, strategy documents, calendars, things of that nature. And so rather than, back in the old days where you're just like cutting boards and spray mounting, stuff to boards and just doing boring production stuff, in a small firm, it's like we just sort of throw you right in, like, here you go. Good luck. Call me if you need me. And I think that, so yeah, that role is changing because, yeah, there's still handwork that needs to be done, but so much of it is, generated differently today than when I was getting started. And so this leads me to my question. Do you feel like the Flagler program has prepared you? Obviously, you have a great design foundation. You've got a BFA. You've got have learned about critical thinking and things of that nature. But have they really prepared you for the job market? I want to know because I sit on the School of Creative Arts and Letters, and I raise money, to send you guys to New York and to ADDYs and stuff like that. So I want to know, is the program really preparing you for what's out there? And if there's something that's missing, I want to know so I can go back and talk to the faculty and let them know what the real world assessment is. For here we have one of our most talented, most recent graduates. Why are people not beating down the door to hire this girl?
Thank you. I do think Flagler has adequately prepared me. I did participate in lots of portfolio reviews, and while I was there, I talked to so many various students who were from SCAD, UF, UNF, Jacksonville University, and I would bring over my computer and we look at work and we talk about it. So I do think, especially within our use of AI, the Flagler students definitely had a lot more experience on how to prompt and edit AI, as I personally had some assignments where it was a requirement to use AI. I could not do something by hand. I had to generate an image using AI. So I would say I am adequately prepared, especially with how the industry is adapting AI. I know how to use Midjourney, chat, etc. For just small gaps, I had the opportunity to freelance with a marketing agency, and I was given a photo from a client where they were holding a piece of paper, took a photo of it, and then asked to recreate it using Illustrator. I did not have any of those assets, so I had to recreate them, and I know that's how a lot of the clients tend to discuss what they want with designers, or they'll send like a picture of an AI logo and it's like, yes, I want this. Here you go. Can you just make it better? If anything, it would be fun to have an exercise or two in a class where instead of getting a full, beautiful dream brief to design something with, it's just a JPEG and we have to guess what the client actually wishes.
Yeah, that's more reality. I'll be honest with you. The direction we get sometimes is like, we just, before Rachel came along, I was working on this thing for an apparel brand. And so it was a very significant brand identity. And he's working in AI, coming up with designs, sending them to me. And I'm just like, dude, this is terrible. Stop wasting your time. It's like, trust me, you're going to be very happy with the end result, and ultimately he was. But some people just like to play around. They just want to feel like.
You're basically saying, let me go through my creative process rather than giving me something to start with, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just kind of like if you're writing a comms plan, and your client is creating a parallel comms plan that's totally off base. You're like, stop. You're wasting your time and you're creating a confusion for us.
Yeah, because you fed in the wrong things. There's certain things you need to put in there for the comms plan to make sense from an employee perspective, the culture, the behavior, all of that stuff. Yeah,
I was like, if you want to do it yourself. But I think there's a reason that you hired us. Anyhow, all right, let's go across the pond. Let me press the button.
Across the pond.
This one was called Design Without a Passport, which is interesting. And
Yeah.
it's more about getting Madeleine's views on stuff, right? Because I'm very international. We work with loads of organizations, but you follow Australian designers, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
And what I'm really interested in to see is the differences between what you see in Australian designs versus American studios and how design comes from here. Is there a difference?
I would say, um, 2 big influences that Australia has that I'm really drawn to. One is the use of the way they use light and use that as kind of just another layer to their coastal design. I love any sort of beachy aesthetic or kind of nautical infused design. And a lot of the artists there are really inspired by different, like, rocky terrains, sandy beaches. There's so many different nature inspired work as well there. And then the other influence would be using kind of like colors or patterns from the Aboriginal people who lived there first.
Mm-hmm.
It's stunning.
That is so okay. So a bit over my head because I'm not into design, but I understand what you're talking about in terms of influences. Do you
Mhm.
see different influences in American design art, or have you seen anything else other than Australian design that you get inspired by?
I do get inspired by American artists as well. I would say a lot of my favorite artists do come from either Australia or America. I tend to find the work and I'm drawn to it, and then oh, of course, it's an Australian artist. That makes sense. That's I can
Okay.
understand more why I was so drawn to it. Like one of my favorite artists is Jasmine Dowling, and she is a main kind of leader in Australian design that has even come to the Americas and trickled over. I saw her making these beautiful paper multimedia videos, and I think now when I scroll on my feed, I see those a lot just from various places. And I do remember a few years ago when she first started them thinking, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be everywhere in just a bit. And truth be told, it was right.
Okay. So, Madeline, we talked
Mhm,
about this in the earlier segment, right? Because you're looking for work, but work could mean many things in many different areas.
mhm.
So, if you're honest with yourself, do you see yourself staying in the region, or are there you being elsewhere, like physically? Like, do you see yourself being somewhere else other than America, following your passion and your love? Is that
Mhm.
Australia?
It it might be Australia, yeah. I do have I do have a friend from Flagler who graduated a year before me, and she moved to Australia. So she's like, "Come on over, Madeline. I know you love it." It's
Hey,
very tempting, very tempting.
that's another thing to think about now
Well,
in your
Australia
search.
is a former British colony, so that would be acceptable, right, Nyla?
Right, Quinn. So is Pakistan. So therefore, Madeline, you need to also look at Pakistan design culture
I
because
will.
they're so different. And if I'm in the right space, we've got something called truck art. I don't know if you've heard about truck art. So in Pakistan and India mainly, but mainly Pakistan, you have a big trucks that transport products from A to B, but they are designed in a certain way, full of color. It's got like a little bit of, you know, animals in there, like peacocks and things. Really nice. And I think in Australia they even created a tram in truck art as well. Have a look. You might like it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
when I was in
will.
India, they their concept of what they do with their vehicles is totally different. Like here in America, it's basically you got 3 colors: white, gray, and black. There it's just like their buses are painted and they're full of decorations, and it's almost like
Yes.
they're like little moving houses. Even like utilitarian vehicles, like garbage trucks and stuff like that. They're all decorated and uh, wild and exotic in their look. It's you should definitely look into that.
Yeah,
It,
there's
it
clothes as well, and now there's, cutlery in that design. And if you go back into like the history, you'll see the history coming from Persian times, and each region has its own artwork. I can go on forever. I got some of it on my clothes right now. The color, I love color. hmm um, but yes, so let's take you across the pond to other places. I'll share it with you offline.
Okay.
All
yes,
right, cool.
very good. All
All
right, should
right,
we move to the future?
let's do it.
The future.
Okay, so we're at the part of the show that I've been saving. We call it the future segment, and we ask us to imagine forward, not 3 to 5 years, but 15 to 20. So, crystal ball time. I hope you brought yours, Madeline.
Mhm.
Um, so, and again, I'm just asking you to speculate because none of us have the answer. 20 years from now, has the industry actually built a place for a creative with your range, or has it just gotten more sophisticated about people who are specialists?
I do think range will continue to grow in the want for range as I'm applying for jobs. A lot of the descriptions are looking for a graphic designer who is also the whole marketing team, who is also the whole video team, who's kind of can fill all creative positions. So I do think that will increase, especially with clients asking the designer to use AI and using that as well, I don't need 2 people now if you can take care of it with some technological assistance. So I do
Mm.
think it will be designers need to keep adding more and more skills to their arsenal to stay competitive.
Yeah, definitely. So we talk a lot about on AI in this show, and we've had some pretty impressive guests who I think I know a lot, but compared to some of our guests, I'm like, I don't know
No.
shit. So we're just we're just baby stepping into this, and they're building entire businesses, from
My
soup to
God.
nuts, all agentic. And so I feel like that the need to have a variety of experience going into the future is going to really help you. I mean, because even if you're a prompt engineer, um, understanding what makes photography good, what makes illustration good, what makes for a good communications plan, understanding those different disciplines and having a real clear perspective, like a real clear aesthetic, I think is just going to be absolutely critical going forward, because it's the 3 of us in this room who decides what is good,
Mm.
right? Because AI can spit out 100 logo designs, but
Yeah,
the person off the street might point and say, "Well, I kind of like that one." But we're the one that has done the research and understands, the brief, and has these, well, you'll eventually have decades of experience, but uh, having the aesthetic to say this works for this reason. One of my colleagues just got a project for a new sub shop that is opening up, and wasn't really anything particularly wrong with the logo until they took it and tried to get it embroidered, and they're like, "We
Oh.
can't embroider this." It's like the lines in this logo are way too fine. There's no way we can embroider this.
Never
And
thought that.
so, yeah, I looked at it and I was like, "Yeah, well, could have told you that if you had not gotten it done, over the internet by Fiverr, for $50.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
fix it." But It's not going to be
Yeah.
$50, I promise you.
Yeah, you talk about using judgment, right? In
mhm.
when we talk about AI and we're helping a client with AI and embedding it, we tell them it's about, being, yes, you can use it, but you have to be ethical. Make sure you know what you're putting in there in terms of sensitive information, be responsible and use your judgment, because that AI tool can't do it. In fact, Quinn, now you're talking about it, Madeleine might even come up with a product in the future. Who knows? It might not be
Mhm.
a job.
Well, she's got some product in the works. It's so,
Mhm.
Oh,
so secret
yes.
squirrel. She doesn't even want to
Shh.
tell us what it is,
Let's not.
So,
Let's not protect the IP here. Like, yes. But we
That's
well,
will
what
hear
I'm
about
hoping
when
it.
you
for.
do roll it out, we want to have you back on the program.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
It is a
Absolutely.
continuation of my thesis project. So all my
Ah,
research will be put to good use.
Very
good,
good.
good. We look forward to that.
All right. So, moving to my quintessential close. Madeleine, 10 years from now, where do you want to be standing? And what's the piece of work you most want to have made that you haven't made yet?
Oh.
I do think it would be amazing to have my own agency and fit that time period. I also hope to have my product will be released by then.
Good
I'm
one.
I'm very excited to just continue that. I really look forward to just creating a bunch of work that makes me happy and feel fulfilled and keeps helping me grow creatively and keeps pushing me, and I get to work with others who are just as enthused about it as I am, just because design and art, they're my passions, and I'm so lucky that I'm going into an industry where I get to do what I'm passionate about every day.
It's amazing.
Well said.
Thank you.
Wow. Now I'm thinking of more branchings out. Connection. This is all about connections. My friend, who we're hoping to bring onto this podcast, Quinn,
Mm-hmm.
who's a spoken, you call it spoken poet.
Spoken word?
What do you call it? Spoken words.
Yeah.
And he's writing his third book. So we have to obviously wait for him to get done with the third book, and he's done with his press. You could be designing for his books in the future. Who knows what collaborations can come out of connections, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I will keep you in mind if I have to refer you.
Thank you.
Yes, that's Naila's the name of her company is P3 Connect.
Yes.
Connecting people with purpose,
Passion.
passion, and people, purpose,
it.
and passion.
Yeah. People with
Yep.
passion and purpose, and our principles are collaborating, connecting on meaningful work, and contributing to the greater good.
Mhm.
Very good.
So,
Let's go to the
are we
wrap.
going? Shall we go, Madeleine? Before we wrap up, for someone who is listening right now and who's living in their own version of the gaps that you're seeing, what's the one thing you'd like to tell them?
I would say continue to network and continue to get better. I found some graphic design games online where I can keep learning how to perfect my skills. And there are so many resources out there as well to continue that. And then I'm also going back and visiting all those connections I made in school, going to reviews, reaching out to those people, asking to take another peek at my portfolio if they know anybody hiring. And I've had some really amazing calls of people taking time out of their day and they go through the projects with me. And it's been absolutely fantastic because I love any sort of feedback. So
Amazing.
just continue to learn and put yourself out there.
Great. I like that.
And tell us
Okay.
again where we can find your work.
MadeleineGlassford.com. And then I'm Madeleine.Glassford on Instagram, Madeleine Glassford on LinkedIn. Everywhere it's Madeleine Glassford.
And that's for our listeners, MadeleineGlassford.
Thank you.
I connected with you on LinkedIn already, Madeleine.
Amazing.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Madeline.
Oh,
And that wraps up this episode of Now, Near, in the Future. You can
oh,
find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube, and I look forward to get us going on Apple video podcasts here pretty soon when we figure out how to do that. You can find us at Now, Near, in the Future, at Now, Near, in the Future on all of our social handles, and at nownearfuture.com.
Excellent. And if this one stayed with you, share it with someone who's standing in their own gap, or reach out to Madeline if you
Absolutely.
find that you can work with her.
She is a delightful young woman, and I think I give her 2 thumbs up.
Yay. I'm going to go follow your work now. Yes, Madeline?
yes, thank you
All right,
so
cool.
much for
As
having me.
always,
It was
stay
so fun.
curious and keep dreaming.
Thank you. And we will see you in the future.